Welcome to a new episode of the Beyond Babylon podcast, your eye-opening tour into the world of the Near East. Let's get started. In a novel entitled Samarqand, written by French-Lebanese author Amin Malouf, the lives of three friends converge around their quests for power. Omar Khayyam, a renowned poet and scientist, chose the power of words and the freedom of the present moment over political involvement. Hassan-i-Sabbah, the founder of the Hashshashin, a precursor to modern terror groups, was a master strategist whom Khayyam once recommended for an empire-wide spy network. This network was crucial for their third friend, Nizam al-Mulk, a celebrated statesman of the Turkish Islamic Empire. Al-Mulk's legacy includes the Siyasatnama, a guide to governance, and Nizamiya schools. Yet his achievements were overshadowed by political conspiracies, culminating in his assassination. A tale Malouf masterfully intertwines with history. Today, the city of Samarkand is located in modern Uzbekistan. Al-Mulk's assassination in 1092 is commonly attributed to the Hashshashin group, likely due to the long-standing rivalry between him and the leader of the group and his frenemy, Hassan-i-Sabbah. The Hashshashin, active from the 11th to the 13th centuries, was a covert sect of Nizari Ismaili Shia Muslim who took over several mountaintop castles in Iran and Syria as their strongholds. The castle of Alamut, located in Iran, was the headquarters of their leader, Sabbah. They carried out high-profile assassinations, targeting those opposing their beliefs or threatening their community. The term assassin in many languages originates from this group. Under Hassan-i-Sabbah leadership, they became infamous for their knife-wielding assassination teams, driven by religious zeal and political strategy. The Facts and Details Project mentions that recruits were allegedly given hashish or hash cultivated in the group's gardens, promising them heavenly pleasures akin to their induced euphoria if they martyred themselves during missions. The hashish consumption allegedly emboldened the recruits for their perilous tasks, leading to their name, the Hashshashin. Historically, many groups have intertwined religious and political goals, making them indistinguishable. With their targeted killings and fusion of political and religious motives, the Hashshashin can be seen as a forerunner to modern terrorist entities in the Near East. The interplay between Khayyam's philosophies and Sabbah's ambitions resonates in today's global context. Their ancient narratives remain strikingly pertinent in an era of rapid information dissemination and blurred borders. While the Hashshashin employed religious motives and public assassinations to incite fear, they primarily targeted political adversaries, positioning them more as a missionary group with political objectives. Modern terrorist groups often target civilians, using any means to maximize death and destruction for heightened publicity. The more catastrophic the act, the more attention it garners. The term terrorism originated during the French Revolution, describing the reign of terror, where the French Republic under Robespierre executed opponents, initially denoting state violence. By the 20th century, it shifted to signify violence against states. While history has seen various terrorist groups with diverse religious and political motivations, this podcast will delve into Al-Qaeda and its even more radical offshoot, the Islamic State in Iraq and Syria, ISIS. Journalist Peter Oborn noted in the Middle East Eye news website that the modern connotation of the term terrorism evolved in the 60s and 70s with the emergence of nationalist groups like the Irish Republican Army Group and ETA Basque Group. However, it was post 9/11 that Western leaders deemed terrorism the paramount threat of the era. Al-Qaeda originated in the 1980s from the anti-Soviet jihad in Afghanistan. Following their victory, Osama bin Laden and his associates aimed to unify various jihadi factions under a single banner. By the mid 90s, their focus shifted to targeting their greater enemy, the United States. The 9/11 attacks drastically altered global perspectives on extremism and security. In response, the US launched the War on Terror, intervening in Afghanistan and Iraq. Domestically, the US Patriot Act was enacted, granting law enforcement border powers, but igniting civil liberty debates. The Department of Homeland Security was founded, and air travel underwent significant changes with the TSA inception. This period also exposed widespread surveillance by entities like the NSA. The world's approach to extremism shifted, emphasizing understanding radicalization's roots and promoting de radicalization. International cooperation strengthened, and the Middle East's geopolitical dynamics changed, influencing global economy. The post 9/11 era is marked by enhanced security, evolving perceptions, and the balance between freedom and safety. The Islamic State ISIS, or Daesh in Arabic, emerged after the 2003 US war in Iraq. Jihadist factions rallied around Abu Mus'ab al-Zarqawi, an affiliate of Al-Qaeda in Afghanistan who had received seed money from bin Laden to start his own branch. Despite shared jihadist visions, ISIS's rise signaled Al-Qaeda's decline. Their primary divergence lies in their objectives. Al-Qaeda aimed to target US interests worldwide, while ISIS focused on establishing its brand, targeting local communities, and overthrowing apostate Arab governments. Al-Qaeda even viewed ISIS's extreme violence and beheading videos as detrimental to the jihadist movement. The Syrian war created a power vacuum that ISIS quickly filled. Their resurgence in Iraq was fueled by former Iraqi Prime Minister Nouri al-Maliki's policies, which deepened sectarian divides by favoring Shi'i Muslims and marginalizing the Sunnis. In 2014, Al-Qaeda's leader, Ayman al-Zawahiri, severed ties with ISIS after its newest leader, Abu Bakr al-Baghdadi, defied orders to focus on Iraq and leave Syria to the rival group, Jabhat al-Nusra. In the same year, ISIS rapidly extended its territory in Iraq and Syria. They employed brutal tactics like mass executions, public beheadings, rape, and crucifixions to instill fear and ensure compliance. Concurrently, they provided basic services, securing some support or at least passive acquiescence from the local populace, driven by fear and necessity. ISIS's most heinous act was the genocide against the Yazidis. In August 2014, they targeted the Yazidi religious minority in Sinjar region in northern Iraq, committing mass murders, abductions, sexual enslavement, and forced conversions. Thousands of Yazidis were killed and many more displaced, resulting in a humanitarian disaster. The Yazidis' plight drew global attention. The US, other nations and Kurdish forces intervened, launching airstrikes against ISIS and creating a humanitarian corridor to rescue Yazidis trapped on Mount Sinjar. By 2019, the US-led global coalition with the Kurdish Syrian Democratic Forces, SDF, at the forefront, eradicated ISIS' territorial hold in Iraq and Syria. Yet the group remains a menace. With Syria's unstable security situation and lingering ISIS ideologies, the group still has between 5,000 and 7,000 members in Iraq and Syria, as per a UN report from August. ISIS factions continue their attacks in the region. This doesn't account for the roughly 11,000 suspected ISIS members in SDF-run prisons in northeastern Syria, which includes 3,500 Iraqis and about 2,500 from other nations. Today's counter-terrorism (CT) strategies are multifaceted, encompassing law enforcement, intelligence, military, financial, and diplomatic actions. Tailored to a nation's unique threats, legalities, and politics, these strategies involve intelligence gathering and sharing, financial regulations, countering violent extremism, international collaboration, military interventions, public awareness, rehabilitation, and research. In one of Amin Malouf's books, Adrift, he suggests that the world is losing its bearings, with extremism not just confined to the Near East but manifesting in an increasingly polarized world. He said, quote, "When civic rights are tied to ethnicity or religion, the nation is on a trajectory towards barbarism." Returning to the Hashshashin, historically their decline occurred during the 13th century Mongol invasions. Their downfall was also influenced by shifting allegiances as they served various rulers and internal strife, reminiscent of Al-Qaeda and ISIS dynamics. In the novel Samarqand, the group's ideology undergoes a transformation. The last ruler of Alamut Castle, also named Hassan after the group's founder, experiences an ideological shift. Dubbed the Savior by his followers, he is influenced by Khayyam's writings and wisdom. Contrasting the founder's rigid interpretation of Islamic Sharia, the Savior proclaimed that they had fulfilled their earthly obligations. He encouraged the celebration of life, wine drinking, and departure from ritualistic prayer, asserting that true believers are perpetually connected to the divine. This proclamation marked the day of salvation. Thank you for joining us on this journey through time and thought. I'm Nisan, your host, and until next time, keep exploring beyond the known.